dialed your operator.
Have no fear, fellow citizens. The Mediator is here.
Good morning and welcome to this week's edition of The Mediator with me, your host, Brian West, here to give you the top 8 headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. Now, as usual, I'll give you the top 8 local headlines and developing news stories that made it first, followed by a movie clip, a skit, a trailer, or something that's going on in the community, or maybe some pictures. And then I'll give you the top 8 international headlines and developing news stories that made it, folks. So let's waste no time. Ooh-wee! Yeah. Let's get to it. Story number 1. New park director named in Youngstown. Clement Franklin is in as the new Youngstown Park and Rec director. He will step in for Don Turnage, who went to Columbus. Now, Mr. Franklin has been around the community for some time. He's been in boxing. He's served proudly at the local YMCA branches, and he's always investing in himself and the community. He will be effective October 31st as the new park director. Congratulations, Clement Franklin. Big headline. Story number 2. Austintown superintendent is set to retire. Austintown's school's superintendent, David Capozzello, he's set to retire according to a local report published October 25th. He has announced his plans to retire July 1st of 2023. Capozzello, who graduated from Channing High School in 1984, has a long list of accomplishments on his long life here locally and his lifelong journey in Northeast Ohio. So that's a big resume, and he has done his deeds for the local community. That's why story number 2 made it. Story number 3. Local churches and nonprofits, hold on, still in decline. Local churches are doing everything they can to keep up with the decrease in attendance and participation. Some nonprofits have also noticed a decline in donations. Now, this story made it in because the season of giving is right around the corner, and local churches and nonprofits always play a big pivotal role in how families cope with the continued rise in food prices. And they usually, just period, around the holidays, churches and nonprofits usually play a big role in with inflation and all this stuff and high food prices and all the stuff that's going on, even with the basic necessities that are needed around this time of year. Churches and nonprofits will probably play a big part in filling those needs. That's why story number 3 made it this week. Story number 4. $300,000 goes to MVCS, a nonprofit. MVCS is a nonprofit community dropout and recovery school located at 2725 Gibson Street. That was stated in the article. But the nonprofit will receive $300,000 in ARP money. The school intends to renovate a south side building that the school intends to purchase in the coming months. The community school was founded in 2008 and is sponsored by the Office of School Sponsorship at the Ohio Department of Education and is intended to serve the youth who need an opportunity to get back into the academic arena. This is according to a local article published October 25th. Now, it is an open enrollment school and serves 130 students in from grades 7 through 12. The school will need another $1.3 million to confirm the move, but does have more grant money coming, according to the report. Now, the goal is to obtain the building by December. That's why story number 4 made it this week. Good luck, MVCS. Big headline. Story number 5. The 6th district race heats up. Congressman Bill Johnson will run against 71-year-old Louis G. LaRosse. Bill Johnson plans to build on to the plans for energy independence. I'm pretty sure we all know about the energy independence plan, about fracking and drilling more in America and being more self-reliant on our own country. Bill Johnson is a true conservative. Louis G. LaRosse, who switched to the Democrat ticket, tends to lean more to the left, opposite from Bill Johnson, and he plans to be His plans are a little bit different, but similar in some ways. He plans to be a unifier and more than a divider. His focus will be energy-wise will probably be similar, but he also plans to work more on school funding when it comes to technology and education to keep youth from moving away from the area. So that's why story number 5 made it this week, because the race is heating up. You have Bill Johnson, who has served for some time and who is well known in the area. Story number 5, big headline. Story number 6, $5 million grant. A $5 million grant. That's big money. DeWine highlights a much needed $5 million grant to benefit the Valley as part of the Appalachia. Now, the money will go towards revitalization of communities while stimulating transformational change, according to a local Vindicator report. Ashtabula County, Columbiana County, Mahoning, and Trumbull County were all included in the funding plans. The program contains critical infrastructure components in the downtown regions. Now, trails, outdoor spaces, community arts, historical and cultural sites, linking to access telemedicine services. This was all mentioned in the article. Now, the article also mentions about healthcare components and school investments. Now, these were all topics of discussion in the article that were very detailed, describing how they will be affected by the local community grant, by the $5 million grant, that Governor Mike DeWine has his stamp of approval. And that's why story number 6 almost made it to the top 2 this week. Big headline. Story number 7 at the top 2 local headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. This week, I learned one thing, and that is that if I could do anything, I could come in here, read through some stories, navigate, tell you a story to keep you informed. Oh, that's special. That's a gift that not too many people possessed. And I'm thankful that I do possess that gift. Story number 7, voting errors are already hitting the headlines. Wow. Now the talk is about the wrong instructions when filling out the ballots. It appears that the Mahoning County Board of Elections mailed out about 20,000 absentee ballots with incorrect instructions telling voters to sign their ballots when returning them, according to a Vindicator article published October 21st. Somebody made a mistake. Tom McCabe pointed out the error in the article, but has also made voters aware of the miswording on the $20,000 ballot. Well, 20,000 ballots. Don't involve money now, Brian. Now, he has also stated that the error has been corrected outside of the 20,000 ballots mailed out. So maybe there's some correction. Okay, now this is the biggest thing. This is after a presidential election that was surrounded with criticism and backbiting and gave President Biden the majority vote. So, you picked the wrong time to mess up there. At the election poll. That's wrong time, because there's speculation. Now, all eyes are still on the American voting system and Ohio in general. We have to remember that Trump won Ohio, but the midterm election season is what got this story in. All eyes are on voting. Story number 7 almost made it to the top this week. Story number 8 at the top. Local headline and developing news story that made it this week. From the window to the wall, to the sweat drop down the crawl. All these stories, I got stories. Sure, you all know what I sing in the shower. Glad I got that out. Let's get to the top story. Story number 8. Local teachers shortage is gaining attention. had to be about education. The teachers. One Vindicator editorial deserves a read, folks. The editorial published October 25th with the headlines, Ohioans must not ignore the teacher shortage, deserves some attention. Simply put, the article homes in on the state's desperate need for new teachers and good ones. Now, it is even the article even mentions a request to increase the state's minimum teacher salary. That's how desperate they are. This story is still developing, and it made it to the top this week because the education system is on notice, especially after there's been a rise in lowers test scores after the battle with COVID, and some say we're still in the battle with COVID. So story number 8 is one to look out for. Education is very big when you talk about kids. Well, folks, those are our top 8 local headlines and developing news stories that made this week. I'll be right back with the top 8 international headlines and developing news stories, so don't you go anywhere. You're the Mediator, me, Brad West. I'm right back. Want to play basketball for a cause? Sign up your team to drive needed resources and funds to your nonprofit, your favorite nonprofit organization. Each basketball tournament is free to enter, with every donation going to the nonprofits in needs. For more information, visit method8inc.com. That's method, the number 8inc.com, or text 234-855-7540. That's 234-855-7540. Oh, yeah. Tune in and don't forget to subscribe to Method 8 Inc. YouTube channel. You can also watch free public entertainment. And don't forget to show some support by visiting www.method8inc.com by buying something, clicking something, watching something, or just reading something. You can also sponsor a program as well. Buy stuff, watch stuff, or read stuff. Welcome back. Now it's time to get to the top 8 international headlines and developing news stories that made this week. Folks, I had to attend a career day. This is just a story, but I have to tell it. I went to the class, and I had to go up against a cancer research doctor. It's Breast Cancer Awareness Month, so a breast cancer doctor was there, and I just felt so just frustrated, because all I told the kids, they say, well, what do you do, sir? They were ready, excited. What do you do, sir? And I just said, all I do is tell stories. I'm a retired veteran, served at the post office and the Navy, and all I do now for a living is tell stories. And I said, oh. So then the breast cancer doctor steps up, and he's, I deal with the complexities of tumor cells and malignant cells and benign cells. And the kids were all raising their head, asking him questions. And I just sat over in the corner, and I watched. Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and they were all excited. As soon as I stepped up, they didn't have too many questions. One kid asked me one question. Well, you were a veteran. Did you have to kill anybody? I said, no. I felt conflicted inside, frustrated. And I left out of there, and I know that there's some storytellers in that crowd of kids somewhere. Maybe some kid was probably just being quiet. Didn't want to ask me a question, folks. But this Breast Cancer Awareness Month, if you could do one thing, if you could think about the people who tell the stories about the women who have to suffer, we have to tell stories of inspiration, even though we know that it's a debilitating, torturous disease. So the end of Breast Cancer Awareness Month, this one's for the storytellers out there, because we have to tell the stories of the doctors. I know we don't get paid much. I know we too have emotional and psychological problems. But if I can tell a story, that's the story to tell. And that story is that I believe in something special. And that's a story of healing to inspire you. There's healing in the air with the storytellers. Let's waste no time, folks. Let's get to the top stories. Oh, yeah. Let's get to it. Story number 1. You see, I'm telling my stories with so much inspiration and enthusiasm. Story number 1. Veterans were forgetting to become members of the groups that have been helping them. This is a big story. because I often go to these veterans groups and they are, Brian, can you get some more people to come help us out, please? We don't have enough volunteers. I'm sitting in the room. I'm the only young 40-year-old man in there. The rest are just kind of sitting around and wondering, that's pretty big. But Veterans Day is almost here, folks. But one story draws attention to veterans groups which are grappling, and they are really in decline of membership. They're grappling with declining memberships. Now, many are saying that they just can't bring in new blood. The question now is why, when there are so many veterans returning to civilian life? Now, after President Biden signed the PACT Act into law, veterans groups from all over the United States sprung into action, only to notice one simple fact: there were more on the receiving end than in the fight. That means there are more people collecting these benefits but not fighting for them. The fact is that you have groups like the DAV, the American Legion, the VFW, the Veterans Commission, and even the VA. All of these groups have dwindled work crews. That means some of them are getting outdated, some of them are getting older, and some of them are retiring. And many are in the hunt for new blood. Organizations like Wounded Warriors and Tunnel to Towers Foundation. And these are just a couple of more veterans groups and organizations to take notice of. The story is still developing because the future is in the hands of those who volunteer. I volunteer my time. I'm not a member of these organizations, but I often volunteer to help them and do everything I can to draw awareness to them. I have my hands full here. That's why story number one made it this career day. Talk to a veteran, big headline. Story number two. Are bankers really worried? One report in CNN Business deserves a read, folks. The story talks about how America's top bankers are more worried about the state of the world than a recession. Now, the report goes on to cite Russia's war in Ukraine and the stalled relationship between the United States and China. It's evident that there is a shift in the global tides when one generation of global leaders is getting older and the next generation is trying to keep up. Now, all of this has to do with the channeling of funds and investments, thus leaving bankers worried. The story is still developing. Story number three. Criminal justice officials sound off, especially in Illinois. After a criminal justice overhaul, a new Illinois criminal justice reform bill may cause citizens to take the law into their own hands, according to a congressional candidate. Now, the Illinois Safety, Accountability, Fairness, and Equity Today Act, also known as the Safety Act, could change parts of Illinois' justice system, like ending cash bail, limiting how flights determine whether defendants are flight risk, and allowing defendants under electronic monitoring to leave home for 48 hours before they can be charged with escape. Now, this is all according to a Fox News report. The law will go into effect January 1st, and criminal justice officials are sounding off. They voicing their concerns, especially they're talking about anarchy if this law is passed. Now, after this law is passed, this story is still developing. That's why story number three made it this week. Story number four. The two stories that are asking, why do people kidnap kids? These are two stories. Here's the first one. A 10-year-old girl, she escaped from an attempted kidnapper twice in 2 days. And one of the kidnappings was caught on video. You can see the girl running for her life, dear life. Now, the other report about a California elementary school teacher who was arrested after hiding a missing teen for 2 years also made headlines. Now, these stories about kids being kidnapped are still in the headlines, leaving the question of why are people stealing kids? There are a list of motives, but the more these stories surface, the more the public should be aware. This can happen to anybody. This is not a story to sleep on. Some parents are doing everything that they can to prevent such problems and such things from happening to their own kids. That's why story number four made it this week. Well, folks, those are our top four international headlines and developing news stories that made this week. I'll be right back with the top four. So don't you go anywhere. You're in the Mediator. Me, Brown West. I'm right back. If you want to check out the stories that almost made it in or did make it in, go to our Twitter feed on our website. Check out everything. All of the sources are there. Go to the website. It's method8inc.com. Method8inc.com where you can buy something, click on something, watch something, read something, or just sponsor the program. Welcome back. Now it's time to get to the top For international headlines and developing news stories that made it this week, folks, it is also the Halloween is coming. I believe it's tomorrow or today if you're watching the show today, or if you're watching the show in the future. It was the October 31st or October sometime. Well, this is a big time of year where people get scared by goblins and goblins. I often get scared when my phone rings and it's either a scam artist, a bill collector hiding outside my window. You got my money! You got my money! But the thing is, Halloween, is that I'm going to highlight the topic of stalking. We all have been accused of stalking in our lifetime, especially when there's that magnetic attraction to a girl that you like. I remember those days when I was a young kid, and for Halloween, if I liked a girl, I knew how to scare her. So this one Halloween, I liked this girl. I'll never forget her name. I'm not going to mention her name, but beautiful girl. And I knew that I would never have a chance at being blessed by this girl. So I would show up on her house and I would always knock on the door. But what I learned is that if you want to scare a female, show up to her house unannounced. You will be called some amazing things, and they will call you the N-word if they feel up to it. And everybody knows what that N-word is. Negro! So I decided I was going to go over to this girl's house unannounced. I did not have I was not a girly or a woman, when they say one of those guys who are very suave with the girls when I was younger. No. I was considered a little different. So I would go over and I'd be over her house and I'd show up unannounced. Hey, what's up, girl? How you want to do? You want to do this, right? She'd look at me like, oh, hell no. Head spinning around. Negro, you better get out of my yard. That day, I was known as the young stalker. And I remember it well. But those were the days. My stalking days are over, folks. I've learned to live peacefully with myself, single. But I do remember those embarrassing Halloween times when I would scare the life out of every beautiful girl showing up to their house unannounced, wanting just to be blessed by their presence. I want to be close to you, girl. Just for the moment. Just for Halloween. That's a scary story, folks. And this is a shout out to all the scary girls and all the scary bill collectors, because that stalking has become a profession. This Halloween, that's my message, is that if you want to scare somebody, become a stalker. Guarantee you will get some of the most nastiest, you'll be called some of the most nastiest names known to man. Become a stalker, folks, this Halloween. Whew, that's my message. Let's get to the top 8, the top 4. Let's get to story number 5, folks. The red wave may be coming. Everybody knows what that red wave is. The midterm election season is upon us, folks, and Democrats are losing on crime, inflation, education, and even the border. It's safe to say that Republicans and independents smell blood in this next election, and many are predicting a red wave. It's yet to be known. Now, there are so many details in this still ongoing story, with many candidates being put in the spotlight as either saying unusual things or sounding very desperate with off-topic jabs, like other candidates' families. Now, a debate between Fetterman and Dr. Oz has gained national attention, after Fetterman misspoke on several key questions. As we story number 5 made it this week. Story number 6. Is inflation getting worse? The Washington Post reports that the U.S. economy likely grew a lot last quarter, but most people didn't even notice it. Now, the report goes on to cite how many families continue to struggle with inflation, even with good economic data. Now, the Biden administration has been hit hard when it comes to an answer to combat inflation. Many officials are scrambling to get prices back in line as families continue to struggle with basic necessities. Another report in the USA Today points out how rising wages are even contributing to high inflation. The story is still developing. Story number 7 in the top 2 international headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. Boy, almost there. I'm running through the finish line as in sight, folks. Story number 7. Energy chief. The energy chief sounds off. The IEA chief says the world is in its first truly global energy crisis. This story has everything to do with the tightening markets for liquefied natural gas worldwide and major oil producers who are cutting supply, according to a CNN business report. So the story has everything to do with that. Now, what makes this story scary is the fact that in many regions of the world, winter is just around the corner, and the war between Russia and Ukraine isn't making anything even any better. This story is still developing because energy is on everybody's mind. We need energy. That's why it always made it to the top this week. Big headline. Story number 8 at the top. Lucky number 8 ball. International headline and developing news story that made it this week. 8 ball quarter market. Oh, he did it. Story number 8. More shooting woes. Oh my God, they're still shooting people. After 3 people were killed at a St. Louis high school shooting with the suspect killed by security, the mass shooting woes are back in the headlines. According to the report, the doors of the school were locked. In 2022 alone, the U.S. has 464 mass shootings, according to Gun Violence Archives. Now, there were 472 last year at this time. That is a high number if you think about it. Now, the fact remains that Americans are getting a little too used to these stories, and victims want action, but at the moment there are few answers. Now, every detail is coming out about how people are getting access to guns, and trust me, lawmakers are taking notes. The story is still developing. That's why story number 8 made it this week. Can't we all just get along? Story number 8. Well, folks, those are our top 8 local and international headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. I hope you got something out of today's program. I always get something out of doing the research. As usual, I'd like to thank all the news outlets, the journalists, the media, the people on the front lines. You deserve all the credit. I'm just a mediator, the man in the middle, navigating the stories just for you. If you want to show us some support here at Method 8, it does not take much. All you have to do is visit the website on the screen, buy something, click on something, watch something, read something, or just sponsor the program. Well, folks, I am out of here. I'll be back next week looking through over 200 more stories just to keep you informed. I am out of here. Have a good week, everybody. Thank you for tuning to the Mediator. Me, Brian West.
Peace. Happy Halloween.
If you need help, then dial your operator.
Have no fear, fellow citizens. The Mediator is here.